Yes, thanks for the turnout. It's great to be here. It is GT Gold, and we have what is arguably the most significant new discovery of the year in BC. We're just in the process now of very aggressively drilling it, and I'll walk you through that quickly. On the cover there, you can see one of our drill pads, and at the head of the valley next to, this is the Saddle South target, one of the glaciers that remains. That glacier pushed a lot of rubble down into the valley just on the right side bottom of the image there, and that is covering quite a bit of mineralization, we believe. There we go. What was wrong there? Okay. So we'll move along quickly here. Charlie Gregg is our VP Exploration. He's a really well-known guy in British Columbia exploration circles. We have, of course, a very thorough QA/QC process that we walk through and consisting of blanks and standards. Just briefly, the big picture, we really do have a significant discovery. We're a very focused little company. We've got a lot of cash at the minute, about $7.3 million. We have a really good team, and we have something quite significant unfolding at Saddle South. Our principal asset is the Saddle South target prospect, which is located on the Tatogga property. You can see it up there at the northeastern corner of the Golden Triangle. It's about 10 kilometers from the Red Chris mine. This is a look at the property itself. It is large. The arrow points to the Saddle prospect. The key thing about it is this property is not remote by BC standards. The nearest paved highway is 10 kilometers away. It takes us about 10 minutes to fly there by chopper, and we launch from the Bear Paw Lodge. So access is great for this potential, for this property from a potential development standpoint. The property has two key focal areas, Saddle South, Saddle North. Both are potentially large scale. They've emerged entirely from geochemistry. So this discovery has been a geochemical play from the beginning. Now it's got a bit of a geophysical flavor to it as well. It is not remote, and that's why a lot of people ask, why was it not discovered? Well, I'll show you why in a minute. I'll come back to that. But this is a perspective shot looking down. You can see Saddle South on the sort of center of the image. Saddle North is about 250 meters lower down in the valley bottom. You can see the paved highway in the distance, Highway 37. Another view, this is an actual photograph. We call that the tableland, Saddle South tableland up on the right. It is mostly grass-covered alpine tundra, thick grass. The sheep love it. Nothing to be seen up there sitting on top of the heart of what we've been drilling. Saddle North down in the bottom has always looked great. It's a potentially very significant area there. We chose to focus on Saddle South because though it's a tableland, the topography where we chose to drill is actually quite attractive. You can see it's rather flat up there. This is a different view of Saddle South looking east. And there's nothing to be seen other than a little bit of color bleeding out of the side of that slope. You can see right in the middle of the image. In the old days, if most of the transiting was up and down the valley bottom there, and there was a glacier occupying this valley right in the foreground, unless you stood right on the edge of that slope, you wouldn't have seen any color. And in the old days, they were looking for color predominantly. That's what attracted them. They also looked for veins. And I'll tell you something. This was a subaqueous deposit in terms of when it was intruded long ago. It's got very little quartz in it. It's got a lot of sulfide, a lot of carbonate, which means when you add water, and oxidize the sulfides, it basically eats away the carbonate, and you end up with no surface expression of the vein system there. And so it's not like Mexico where the quartz, a lot of quartz in the veins, and they are left standing up post emplacement. And so there was very little visually to attract anyone to the deposit. Just briefly on the origins, it emerged entirely off the radar. This is partly why the market is excited. it is fresh. There was not a single historical rock or soil sample anywhere on this discovery area, despite the fact it's not remote. The initial work was done starting in 2013, regional geochemistry. We tightened that up in 2014. This was all as a private company. We could not sell this prospect to anybody in terms of raising money in 2014. So we mothballed it, just waited for better times, came back to it early last year, had a lot of success last summer. We started to do an RTO transaction to get public late in the year. We had the assistance of key investors like Tukey Angus at the back of the room there, who's famous in these parts for his involvement in these juniors. We got Ross Beatty in. This was all at 15 cents. We struggled to close the RTO, which occurred late in the year in November. And since then, we've just been unfolding the program. We've had 2 subsequent financings, but I'll move along quickly. This is just a brief look at the heart of the geochemistry that attracted us. It was an exceptionally strong geochemical anomaly carrying average grades over 58 samples in the dark purple there of plus 7 grams, highs to 72 grams, and a very consistent anomaly. We now know as well that Saddle South has got a strong geophysical signature, and we've been very successfully linking the geophysics with the geochemistry and targeting both with the drilling. We started the program this year with, and I'll just brush through this is dense. The broad picture is this. We started with RC drilling just to sense through the soil, find where it was in the rocks, and we followed that up with ongoing diamond drilling. Every hole virtually delivers long intercepts of what I would call underground style mineralization. Anything in our significant intercepts is generally plus 5 gram material. We ignore all the lower grade stuff, but it's there. These are multi-meter intercepts, and recently, just the last few days, I did a tally of the average true widths in each of the holes, core holes we put out to date. They average over 11 meters true widths of about the same grams per ton. This has attracted the majors because we've been able, with our drilling, both the RC program and the diamond drilling program, to demonstrate that we've got these key hallmarks of a deposit that might lead somewhere. And that is grades, widths, and continuity. We've announced several press releases, one at the end of August, and this is a plan view. Basically, we've been able to drill this deposit now, Saddle South, along about 330 meters. I can tell you very shortly, you'll see we've succeeded in pushing it much deeper depth-wise. We're just going to continue to focus on expansion drilling for the remainder of the season. We've got about, we've announced 8 core holes. There are 48 currently drilled and about 11,500 meters. So there's going to be a lot of news to come. Key thing here is we believe the plunge of the high grades that we intercept in each hole is down to the southwest. So when you look at these sections, you have to be envisaging the plunge down to the southwest off section. Sulfide rich, we've got gold in thin section. All of this material is up on the website to be seen. We had our initial first visible gold recently. That'll run a big number when it comes back. You can see the grass in the foreground of this image. It's thick, and that's what's sitting on top of the best of Saddle South. Saddle North, I'll briefly mention, is possibly really big. It had, we knew it had that dark purple anomaly, top left there, associated with it. We now know that it continues for over 2 kilometers to the east, and that's an image of our target, which nobody else has yet seen, but there it is. It's a big whopping target, but I would emphasize probably we're looking around the fringes of it for what we're after. We've had the same intercepts at Saddle North as we had at Saddle South. We're going to continue to focus on expansion drilling. We expect to be there until about the 10th of October. I would mention as I close here that although we have 79 million shares out, about 29 million are locked up. So it's really only a float of about 50 million. And that's our story. Please go to the website or swing by and I'll happily chat with you. Thank you.